Allah Azza wa Jal teaches us in His book that there's one thing, if you can get it in this life, it's more valuable than everything else. Everything else will be okay if you have this one thing. And that one thing is the closeness to Allah, is being good with Allah, and truly developing a connection and a bond with Him. The problem with people is when life is good and only good, for a lot of people they get distracted. You go from a video game, to a movie, to checking social media status, to hanging out with friends, to a restaurant, to sleep. Allah is out of the picture. There's no Allah left. There's just you chilling. That's all there is. And then times get tough. And the friends aren't there. And the game doesn't feel good anymore. And the car doesn't look good anymore because the health is gone. When the health is gone, none of those things mean anything anymore. All you care about is, I just want to be out of this hospital bed. If I could just walk again, that'd be fine. People are bringing you your favorite food, you don't want to eat it. People want to show you a movie, you don't want to watch it. All these things that you lived for, everything that you went from A to B to C to D, all these things are gone. You don't care about none of them. Because there's one blessing, Allah Azza wa Jal diminished for you a little bit. And then at that point, you have two options. If you are of these people that are on the cliff, on the edge, you can start complaining to Allah, why did you do this to me? He just didn't like that I was so happy. Or you could earn the greatest treasure you and I can ever earn. And that is a humility and a closeness to Allah. To actually realize, even when I was healthy, even when I was wealthy, even when I was doing well, everything was fine, I didn't realize even then that I was on life support. Allah was actually providing for me every moment. I didn't earn anything on my own. None of it was something that I deserved. This is why Allah Azza wa Jal will say, أُولَٰئِكَ لَهُمْ نَصِيبٌ مِّمَّا كَسَبُوا. أُولَٰئِكَ لَهُمْ نَصِيبٌ مِّمَّا كَسَبُوا. Allah Azza wa Jal will describe even fadl. وَابْتَغُوا فَضْلًا مِّنَ اللَّهِ. Not kasaba min Allah. You can't earn something. It's a favor from Allah, whatever He's given you. But you don't realize it at the time because it just comes easy. But then you start begging Allah and asking Allah and crying to Allah and praying to Allah like you've never prayed before, feeling closer to Him like you've never felt before. And then Allah heals you. And you realize those moments you had when nobody was in the hospital room, you were just by yourself, crying to Allah, were the sweetest moments of your entire life. Those were the few moments of your life that you actually had nothing between you and Allah. And those might be the moments that save you in the akhirah. That might have been the biggest gift Allah ever gave you, is those moments. But for some people who are on the edge, when times get tough, فَإِنْ أَصَابَتْهُ فِتْنَةٌ إِنْقَلَبَ عَلَى وَجْهِهِ. He turns on his face. He turns his face away. What does that mean? It means I want nothing to do with Allah. How come He abandoned me? How come He gave me a hard time? Why would He do that to me? You see, what happens to, and this is actually very easy to understand in our times, we live in a hyper-consumer society. So everything comes quickly. You want to be entertained, just open up an app on your phone. You want to buy something, just order it on Amazon, it'll show up at your door. Everything's become effortless. And everything's become instantaneous. You want something, it'll come to you. You don't have to go to it, it'll come to you. Everything's quick. We're used to getting served now. We're used to constantly getting served. And if one order of yours is 2 days late, 3 days late, you're going to give it 1 star, thumbs down, bad rating. You're used to this now. And now you make dua to Allah. Or you expect Allah to take care of some of your problem, but you're so used to getting things done so quickly and immediately. And when it doesn't happen, we're like, this is poor service. I need better customer service. I'm not going to go to Allah again and place an order. Because you're a customer now. You're entitled now. He turns his face from Allah. He didn't even listen to me. He didn't even solve my problem. Understand that Allah Azza wa Jal has a plan for everybody. And just to give you a comparison, in the case of Yaqub alayhi salam, who lost his child, Allah returned his child to him after years. Many years. And in the case of Musa alayhi salam, his mother also lost her child. She put him in the water. And He returned that child after a few hours. Because by the time the child got hungry, the next feeding was from the same mother. Because he wouldn't drink from anybody else. What am I trying to get at? Sometimes in this world, sometimes Allah will answer that pain of yours, Allah will relieve it immediately. Sometimes He will relieve it after many years. But in all of it there's good.
I have to compare what Allah has given me here to what Allah will give me in the akhirah. And two comparisons always come in my mind. Khayrun wa abqa. Whatever Allah has is better. Whatever Allah has lasts longer. Whatever Allah has is better, meaning if I have food here, Allah will give me better food in Jannah. This is awesome food. Don't get me wrong. I'm grateful for this food. But Allah has better in store. Then Allah has given me health. But this health will not last forever. This youth will not last forever. This ability even to speak for some people won't last forever. The vision you have right now, your eyesight is pretty decent. But as you get older, it's going to get weaker. It's not going to last forever. But what Allah has for you in storage, in Jannah, that lasts longer than this. So why work so hard for something temporary when you can work hard for something permanent? That's the attitude. This next bit of advice. First of all, don't be deluded by wealth. Don't be overly happy and overly excited by material things. Think higher than that. Through whatever Allah has given you. Because Allah has given this wealth to you, you should use whatever Allah has given you to pursue the next home, the final home. You have a home here, you have wealth here, but everything you've been given, you can put it to use to build your akhirah. What that suggests is whatever Allah has given you, for some of you, Allah has given high intelligence. For some of you, you're amazing programmers. For some of you, Allah has given you very good business sense. For some of you, Allah has given great physical ability. Allah has given you different things. Whatever Allah has given you, first you do an audit of what Allah has given you. Then you figure out, how do I give this to Allah? How do I use what I have to build my akhirah? How do I use this talent that I have to do something good that can build my akhirah? Allah is saying the rizq for you will come, and more of it will come if your concern is not yourself, your concern is actually others. You want to do something more, greater than yourself. This attitude of, this is against selfishness itself. Allah is not against having wealth. But Allah is subhanahu wa ta'ala in this ayah remarkably against wealth that is just about you. Your entire goals and aspirations are limited to yourself. How selfish and pathetic a way to live. You cannot call yourself a member of a community if you don't care about anybody beyond yourself, practically. In your head you care, that doesn't mean anything. But what have you actually done? What have I actually done? Through this community advice, Allah is telling Qarun, if you don't become a good example yourself, you don't straighten out your life yourself, you are not just corrupt yourself, you are the cause of corruption. You are the cause of corruption. That's heavy. That's really heavy. Now our actions are not limited to ourselves. Our misbehavior is not limited to ourselves. Even the younger kids that are here, you are an older sibling. When you have an anger problem, or you talk back to your parents, or you disobey, or you lie, then you are setting an example for your younger siblings. That's what you're doing. Because your younger siblings are looking up to you. So when you do that, then it's going to spread. And that's what ifsad is, spreading corruption. Sin kama ahsan Allahu ilayk. It's remarkable. Allah says, and excel the way Allah excelled towards you. Another rough translation is do good, or do beautiful work, as Allah beautified or did such a beautiful job towards you. Many of you, are fathers in your home. You as a father in your home, the way you carry your life, the way you live your day, it sends a huge message to your children and what is important, what isn't important. When people are raised on Judgment Day, you know what they say? إِلَّا بِثْنَا إِلَّا يَوْمًا. We only lived one day. In other words, Allah gives a comparison that our entire life can be reduced to one day. One day. So if you can fix one day, meaning what should you accomplish in one day? For the men here, did I pray in the masjid? Did I pray Fajr in the masjid? Did I come to Isha at the masjid? That's the beginning and end of my day was for Allah. Okay, at the very least. One day of balance. And did I spend enough time with my kids today? Did I do a good job at my work today? Did I recite Quran today? Did I eat right today? Did I exercise today? A good balanced day. Like let's try tomorrow, or even the rest of today, let's see if we can have a balanced day. What are the things you would like to accomplish in a day that you can look back and say, you know what, today was a good day. Today was a balanced day. The second big problem is, what does success mean? Well, this one is, what is your worth? What are you worth? Nowadays, our children are being raised to think all they are worth is these products. The brand of clothes, the kind of house, the kind of car your parents drive, drop you off to school at, the brand of the book bag you're wearing, that sort of thing. That's all you're worth. And then on top of that, the additional problem is, what does it mean to be successful? Our idea of success even 20, 30, 40 years ago was,
for the vast majority of the Muslim world. Maybe some of you did not have a good opportunity for education, or your parents did not have a good opportunity for education, and they put all of their effort in getting you a good education. Our idea of education has become a career that makes a lot of money. Everything comes back to money. If you're successful, it means you have a lot of money. If you're successful, it means you have an education. Education in what field? A field that will give you a good career, which means you will have good money. That's what success is now. Everything comes back to this. That's it. Now, this is different from old times. This is different from old times. In old times, to have an education means to understand yourself, to understand the world around you, and to contribute to making the world a better place. Most of our problems in the Muslim community are because we are disconnected from the Quran. We don't feel for it, we don't feel a love for it, we don't have a relationship with it, we don't go to it for advice, we don't recite it every day, we don't care to memorize it, we don't care to learn more and more of it, we haven't shown it enough love. This word Allah gave, honored this ummah with, and we haven't given it enough love. If we did, I tell you, our problems would start disappearing. Have an honest, open, direct conversation with your children. Ask them about what they heard in school, what problems they have, and then you yourself seek the answers from Allah's book. You say, you know the thing your friend just told you, or this terrible thing you saw, you know what Allah says about that? Let me show you. We're literally teaching our children how to go to Allah for answers. Now let's talk a little bit about raising our children. First of all, our mentality has to change. If they don't see in us the right definition of success, if they don't see that in our personality, our conversations, we cannot expect them to have the right definition of success for their life. They have to see that coming from us, in what we talk about all the time, in what is important to us most of the time. When husband and wife are talking to each other, are children listening or no? Always. Always. Their ears are always on. Now if you two are talking about the bills, and you're talking about paying off the house, or you're only talking about movies, or you're only talking bad about this other family and what they did, or whatever you're talking about, they will come to know these are the things that adults, this is what my parents do. This is what's important in life. You and I have to learn Quran as parents, not for our children, for ourselves. We have to learn Quran, we have to love it so much that our children, as they're raised, they know, my dad, somebody asks, what does your dad like to do? They say that he loves to learn the Quran. He's always talking about the Quran. I learned everything I know about the Quran, most of it I came from my dad. He's always listening to an explanation of it. He's always telling me to recite more. He's always memorizing it. He loves the recitation of it, all this stuff. We have to become a nation of Quran. Why? Because the Prophet ﷺ was surrounded by people who doubted, just like we are surrounded by people who doubt. And the only thing that gave him belief was what? Quran, the word of Allah. It kept him strong. We have to become that nation again. Us and our children. We have to become the generation of the Quran. Recite Quran with your children. Don't hire a qari to recite Quran. Recite Quran with your children. Maulana Sahib comes, reads Quran and goes home. What about you? What about you? You don't have time? If you don't have time for Quran, why does your child have to have time for Quran? Sit down with your child, make those 20 minutes happen. Shaitan will come, he will make you yawn, he will make you thirsty, he will make you sleepy, he will make you remember you had a meeting. All of that will happen in those 20 minutes. Why? Because you gave those 20 minutes to Quran. He hates that. He can't stand it. But make those 20 minutes happen. A lot of you think if I just bring my child to a Brother Nouman lecture and sit him down, inshallah ta'ala, after that, لَيَكُونُنَّ مِنَ الصَّالِحِينَ, they will be righteous after that. Just a couple of YouTube videos and their problems will be solved. Ain't gonna help, and you probably already discovered that. You are the real counselors to your children. I'm the real counselor to my child. We have to become their best friends. And that's the next thing that's changed in the world. You know, parents and children had a very organic, natural relationship in the old world. In the new world, dad is at work most of the day. And he comes home tired. By the time he comes home, most of the time children are already asleep. And by the time he goes to work, a lot of times dad leaves to work before kids even wake up. And if he doesn't leave home before kids wake up, he sees them for maybe 5 minutes while they're having breakfast, and he goes and they go. So basically for 5 out of 7 days in a week, parents and father and children have no conversation with each other. If any conversation, did you do your homework? Okay, now get me some water. That's it. You know, for a lot of you, the only role you have to your children, you're like the wall in the house. It's always there, but you don't talk to it. It's always, you need it. It's there, we know it's important, it's paying the bills. Other than that, I have no relationship with it. You know what happens to parents like that? You will find the consequences of that the moment they become teenagers. But when Allah Azza wa Jal talks about children learning Islam in the Quran, there's very few times Allah talks about children learning, children receiving advice. But whenever He talks about it, it's from the parents. Listen to that again. Whenever Allah talks about children getting guidance in the Quran, it's always from parents. And within the parents, it's always from the father. Because the mother is always there. The mother doesn't have to do extra work to be there for the child all the time, and to care for him all the time, and to give him advice all the time. You don't have to give moms training on how to be a mom. It comes naturally. Allah put that inside them. Fathers, however, are horrible. We have to go through training to become real fathers. It doesn't come naturally to us. Just because you had a baby, when a mother has a baby, her feelings, her emotions, everything changes immediately. Changes. A father is like, 3-4 days go by, friends say, hey, heard you had a baby. Yeah man, it hasn't hit me yet. Allah Azza wa Jalla talks about the people of the book. He says, وَلَوْ أَقَامُوا التَّوْرَاةَ وَالْإِنْجِيلَ لَأَكَلُوا مِنْ فَوْقِهِمْ وَمِنْ تَحْتِ أَرْجُلِهِمْ. If they only established the Tawrat and the Injil, they would have eaten from above and below. Their dunya would have become Jannah. If they only established Tawrat and Injil. What is Allah saying to us then? If we only establish what? Quran. You will eat from above and below. Allah will make dunya into Jannah. Just come back to His book. This is the real advice to parents. The memory we leave our children with. My dad loved video games. My dad loved movies. But more than anything else, he loved Quran. He really liked basketball, but he loved Quran. Quran he really, really loved. And he made sure he wanted us to love it too. He used to tell us stories from it. He used to give us advice from it. Tell your children the amazing stories from the Quran. And you won't be able to tell them if you yourself are not amazed by them. If you're not in awe of the story itself, you won't be able to impress your children. But man, from early childhood, you, not anybody else, you tell the stories from the Quran. You will have to do it. I was teaching one of my daughters the story of Yusuf alayhi salam the other day, and I didn't finish the story. She's been asking me 4 days about what happened. Okay, he got thrown into jail. Then what happened? I can't tell you. I'll tell you later. And she's been asking me. I'll tell her on the way back. I'll tell her today, inshallah. What happened after he got thrown into jail? But we have to make and create an interest into our children. And the stories are so beautiful. They're so remarkable. Especially when you tell them from the Quran's point of view. They're so beautifully put together. May Allah Azza wa Jal make us a people of Quran and instill that, give us the ability to instill that into our children.